This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. We got new reporting in the Washington Post that explains the turn in the prosecution's focus on Donald Trump, where at one time they were willing to cut a deal with Donald Trump to just let him return all the documents and avoid indictment. But all that changed when the prosecution got their hands on the recordings at Bedminster in which Donald Trump, not once but twice, showed national defense information, top secret information, war maps, and other things to those that visited him at Bedminster. That was a bridge too far. That had crossed the Rubicon. That was the red line in the sand for the prosecution in moving the case from let's just see if we can resolve this and get all our documents back to we've got an Espionage Act issue. Now, we reported on Legal AF, the podcast that I co-anchor, that in July of 2021, on recordings that were made by those that participated in the meetings, Donald Trump pulled out a top secret document about Iran and the Iran war issue and showed it to those around him, including people that were going to write a memoir about, of all things, Mark Meadows, before Mark Meadows decided to take immunity and testify against his former boss. But at the time, he was going to write a book and cash in on his, helping to foment Jan 6th and almost the toppling over of democracy. But be that as it may, there were people there that recorded those conversations, and those conversations got into the hands through grand jury subpoenas and otherwise to the Department of Justice, and Jack Smith in particular. In the beginning, Merrick Garland was focused on, rounding up all the 2,000 people that participated in the attack, all the animals that attacked on that day, the cradle of democracy. But then as more evidence came out about Mar-a-Lago sort of jumped to the front. And that's why the reporting is out of the Wall Street Journal, of all places, owned by Rupert Murdoch, is that even though they're doing all the grand jury simultaneously at the Jack Smith level with all the different prosecutors, Mar-a-Lago came out of the chute first as an indictment, mainly because they got their hands on this evidence, this recording evidence. It's the same recording evidence that just got disclosed the other day by Jack Smith and his team. They had lawyers there, including Jay Bratt, in making their initial disclosures. They didn't just make their initial disclosures of discovery in the normal course to Donald Trump's team, like, here's a couple of small pieces of things, and we'll eventually get you some more. They were like, you know what? We are loaded for bear. We got a case that's ready to go to trial. We're pushing all our chips in. Here you go. Here's all the witness transcripts of all grand jury testimony against Donald Trump. And more importantly, here are audio recordings, not just one, multiple audio recordings of Donald Trump, including those that he gave permission to record, in which he's basically admitting and confessing to the Espionage Act and obstruction counts. That and grand jury testimony of Walt Nauta and statements that he made, and now we're off and running. So Department of Justice, just this past week, pushes all their chips into the center and says, this is our evidence. We got more, but this is the first tranche, and that'll blow your mind, Donald Trump and the defense team. But this, I want to focus again in the summer of 2021, starting in July. That is the first meeting in which Donald Trump answers the question for the Department of Justice. Why did he take him? They're always searching for a motive. We say he's a narcissist. He likes to keep his boxes. He thinks he's the center of the universe. But it would be helpful for the Department of Justice and the prosecutors to have motive. Why? And they were looking for it. Was it transactional? Was he trying to trade them for something? Was he going to use it in trade? He was trying to trade at one point to the National Archive. You give me Hillary Clinton's emails and stuff about the Russia collusion, and I'll give you back everything that I have to give you back because they're the people's documents, right? That horse trading. But they were always looking for, what is it? Why? What's the motive? And they found it as soon as they got their hands on those recordings through the grand jury process about a year later, and realized, we know what he's doing with it. He's pulling them out of boxes to show to people in order to make whatever political point he's making, right? Or he's revealing the nation's secrets in a conversational way to other people to show his continued importance or relevancy. And so now they have him on recordings in his own voice, touching, using, showing, distributing national defense information, which is exactly the thing that is criminalized by the Espionage Act. Now they got it. And once they had that, that is why the whole investigation pivoted. There was a pivot by the FBI and by the Jack Smith to the Mar-a-Lago issue, because they were like, we know what he's doing with it now, and we got to get it out of his hands.
And now let's take a quick break to talk about our next partner, Lomi. Now, I've never been able to compost before. It was always too complicated, too much work, and frankly, I don't think I even knew exactly if I was doing it right. Then I got a Lomi. Lomi allows me to turn my food scraps into dirt with just the push of a button. Lomi is a countertop electric composter that turns scraps to dirt in under 4 hours. There's no smell when it runs, and it's really quiet. Thanks to Lomi, I have way less garbage each week. My family, we're down from 3 bags per week to just 1. And here's something pretty cool. My wife, she recently started gardening, and we've been able to use the dirt that Lomi produces to help fill the garden. And since I got my Lomi, I throw out way less garbage. That means it's not going to landfills and producing methane. Instead, I turn my waste into nutrient-rich dirt that I can feed to my plants. I feel so great knowing that I'm composting and creating soil instead of waste. And I have basically a limitless supply of dirt for my garden. The other week I had my in-laws over for dinner, and the food cleanup process was such a breeze. Plus, they all think I'm super eco-conscious now. If you want to start making a positive environmental impact or just make cleanup after dinner that much easier, Lomi is perfect for you. Head to lomi.com/legalaf and use the promo code legalaf to get $50 off your Lomi. That's $50 off when you head to lomi.com/legalaf and use promo code legalaf at checkout. Food waste is gross. Let Lomi save you a cold trip out to the garbage can. And now back to the video.
And so that is what led them to go to Magistrate Reinhardt down in South Florida near Mar-a-Lago to get a search warrant. And I'm sure they played some of those tapes. Now that we know that process was relatively secret and is still under redacted release. But we can now tell that what they put into their indictment, what they put into the revelation of the discovery that they're going to provide to Donald Trump, they must have played and showed transcripts to Magistrate Reinhardt in order to get that search warrant. Because he was like, where do I sign? Here you go. Sounds like you have probable cause. Good luck, gentlemen and ladies. Go down to Mar-a-Lago and go grab your documents back, because you're never going to get them back from this horse trading obstructionist Donald Trump, who's going to use them in a commercial transactional way. And not just have them buried. It would have been one thing if Donald Trump just left this material unsecured, in ballrooms and bathrooms and stages and all sorts of places. But he was using them, right? And seemed to have enough of a catalog of where things were that he could quickly grab things. Like, he had 80 boxes. How he found the Iranian war plan is remarkable in its own way, but also shows you how up to his neck he is in the actual review of those boxes, the review of those documents, and the decisions about what to produce, what not to produce, what to hide from the National Archive, what to hide from his own lawyers, and all of that. That's Donald Trump in action. And that, though, a combination of those events, him showing the Iranian war plan document in July of 2021, followed by him showing a person that worked for his political action committee other documents, a map, a war map. They were like, okay, once they got the tape, which was like a year later, they go, we got to go. We now know what he's doing with it. Had Donald Trump, just to show you that this is an unforced series of criminal errors of his own making, if Donald Trump in the year and a half had returned all of the documents and just came clean, which is what Chris Keiss, his lawyer, was begging him to do, he would have avoided the indictment. In fact, he would have avoided the appointment of Jack Smith. Think about this. He may have avoided the appointment of Jack Smith because it was Mar-a-Lago that lit the fuse, and the Mar-a-Lago tapes that we just talked about here that lit the fuse for Merrick Garland. So says the Wall Street Journal in their reporting. That's remarkable. He created his own boogeyman. He created his own golem his own monster to destroy him. Trump. He created Jack Smith because all he had to do was turn back these documents, and Merrick Garland, given the prudent approach that he was using, the judicial approach he was using, may never have appointed a special prosecutor. That's fascinating. And so perfectly Shakespearean and Freudian that Donald Trump has created his own destroyer. Totally crazy, but totally in keeping with everything we've ever said about Donald Trump. So that is where we are now. We're piecing together all of the events, all the evidence that the government has, and we're trying to reach conclusions as to why were there jigs and jags, why were there pivots by the prosecution and the FBI? How did they get to Mar-a-Lago? What was something that lit the fuse that got them excited and excitable to go after Donald Trump even harder and move up Mar-a-Lago in the multiple indictments and grand jury investigations? And now we know what it was. It was those tapes, those recordings, the very ones that are listed now on the discovery list and now turned over to Donald Trump after the protective order is firmly in place, signed by Magistrate Reinhart, same judge who issued the original search warrant in August of last year. This stuff's complicated. The facts that come out, because we're not on the inside, we're on the outside looking in, and we have to piece together data points that we develop or are developed around us and then synthesize it using our judgment. It's hard, but this is why we do it every day on the MeidasTouch network, because we want to connect those dots for you as we learn new pieces of information. This is the world's largest jigsaw puzzle. It really is. It would cover, like 2 football fields. And there's pieces everywhere. But sometimes we get 3 or 4 pieces that connect together, and we get one nice section of a puzzle. And we can drop it here on a hot take, just like this one. I do these hot takes about every day at the intersection of law and politics, where? Only on the MeidasTouch network. And then we pull it all together on a show we call Legal AF, which is the top-rated law and politics podcast that's out there. And I co-anchor it on Wednesdays and Saturdays, only on the MeidasTouch network, of course. If you like what I'm doing here on these kind of hot takes, bringing this kind of information to you so you can fit into your own personal jigsaw puzzle of law and politics, give me a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm, keeps the show coming to you. It keeps the quality and the quantity of the show coming to you the way you want it. Put a thumbs up there, write a comment. I've been known to comment back. We'll open a dialogue. If you like what I'm doing, you can follow me, Michael Popok, on all things social media at MS Popok. This is Michael Popok, Legal AF reporting.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.